citizens of this country. There's a reason why it's regulated. There's a reason why there are obligations under the license. This isn't something to be handed out from father to son. This isn't a family business. You know, it's still a license, frankly, to print money. And they print a lot of money in this business. And we're complicit in it. And back in the day, there was a bargain made, and the bargain was this. Okay, you get the right to a license on these airways, but you also provide a public service. And that public service is incorporated in the original Act of Parliament, 1968, where you do news, and you do community programming, you do local programming, and you reflect the community back upon itself. And that worked for a while until they discovered, wait a minute, the cheapest reality programming in the world, the cheapest reality TV, is news. And it turned from being a public service to a profit center. And that, again, goes back to that mid-'80s changing of the conversation. And it's time to change it back. And frankly, to demand more. To demand more not just of the people that own the media, and the half dozen in the US and Canada. Canada has even more concentration. But to demand more of us, as citizens, as consumers, as taxpayers, of the media that we consume, and how we consume. That's sort of my individual rant. I know you want to talk about internship.
Yes. But my brain is about to explode with different ideas right now. So just to be totally transparent and clear, I am a contract employee with the CBC. I am not on staff any longer and have not been for many, many years. I'm not speaking on behalf of the CBC, and I am absolutely not speaking on behalf of the media. I'm speaking as a citizen of Canada who happens to be a journalist, who happens to work for two public institutions, CBC and the University of British Columbia. I'm a member of a faculty association at UBC because I'm a tenure track instructor, and I'm a member of the Canadian Media Guild on behalf of my journalism and for my employer, the CBC. I was at a fundraiser last night helping out over on the North Shore for a library foundation board, and just noticing the silent auction and who donated what to the silent auction, and the unbelievable amount of contributions that were made by artists or people in the creative industries. Absolutely disproportionate to the amount of money that those people made. They were giving so much of themselves because they feel deeply and they believe clearly that we need to participate as citizens and sort of be sharing in the collective understanding of what's happening in society. And I think that the industry that we're talking about here is no different. There's a real desire on behalf of people who do journalism or work in communications or work in the creative sector to contribute and participate in democracy. When you start to look at the statistics, Poynter Institute down in the States, the Pew Institute, there's a lot of really wonderful research about who's doing what kind of work and to what end. So how is the journalism that's being done affecting the way that we see and understand the world? And I would encourage you all to sort of pick up on some of the ideas that Enda shared with us today and go further and try to understand what's actually happening in terms of how we learn about the world. The question of internships, this one makes me very uncomfortable. I do coordinate internships at UBC. We don't consider that we're sending our students out to do free labor. I actually reject that categorization. I think it is, it's black and white. It shows no sort of nuance. We, on behalf of our students, negotiate an experience for them that they're going to be able to use to benefit themselves as they go forward in the industry. The trouble is, when you're starting out, if you don't have any experience in the world, nobody's going to give you a shot. So what we say to the employers is, look, we have incredibly bright, hardworking, capable students. We'll have a deal with you. The quid pro quo is this. The students go in, they have the experience to do real journalism, to participate in research, in construction of stories, in writing and production, in everything. And they get to gather, from their experience over the summer, a body of work, which they can then take forward with them as they try to get work in the future. And I'll double back to that. What the employers get is the energy and ideas and, frankly, technical ability of students who are coming in with the skill set that many of the employees that currently work for the unions don't have. So it's a saw-off. We have to be super mindful that our students don't go in there and push out people who are employed, people who belong to labor unions. So it's a dance. And we do try to negotiate it. And when there are tension points, we sort of put them right on the table and talk about how we can make sure to come up with an arrangement that will work for everybody. And the unions have been unbelievably supportive. They've been amazing because they get that the students really need to have a way in. I will not allow our students, and I'll absolutely support them to walk out if they feel in any way that they're being exploited. If there's anything that's happening to them where they're feeling like because they're a woman, they're not being treated with the same kind of level of respect, if they're a person of color, that they're not being treated with the same, or that they're young and not being given the same kinds of experiences and opportunities as people who might be a little bit older. So we really try to come at this in a strong and forceful and open way. Work. There's tons of work right now, and there are fewer and fewer jobs. And this is the reality right now. The contraction in the economy is really difficult. In our sector in journalism, it's terrible. All the employers are constantly lamenting the fact that they don't have enough people to do the work. And then they lament the fact that they don't have enough budget to hire the people to do the work. And then they say, but we still need people to do the work. So they're hiring people, and I'm sure that this is your reality all the time. They're hiring people to work on these short-term contracts. They're paying them entry-level money to come in and do work that is sort of 2 and 3 steps up the track. And that is a situation that I'm hoping that some of the organization and discussion that's underway now is going to be able to address, because it's not fair. It is not fair to get people to work for less, to do the same work than co-workers are getting paid much more to do. So there's a whole bunch of things, and there's more.
If I could just interject, because I think that's a good point, and I want to pick up on that. 15 years ago, 10 years ago, when we negotiated these contracts across the industry, and it's fairly standard across the industry, the contracts, whether you're a member of the Guild or the CEP or QP, and I think IBEW represent some members in pockets across the country. But the clauses and the terms and the things within the contract are the same. 10 years ago, turn of the century, we were working on this sort of balancing act with the categories of employees. You know, you got your full-time employee, you got your part-time employee, and then you've got your temporary. That's the person that we need to come in whenever just to do and then be gone, right? Be it a telethon or a parade, Santa Claus parade. We need extra camera people and cable pullers and truck operators and all that sort of thing. So those were the sort of 3 categories, and we negotiated a system there because we had to balance between people who went, I don't want to work full-time, right? I'm okay working part-time. I'm okay working just, weekends or 3 days a week. And so we had to balance that system out. Employers saw this, they kind of took advantage of it. And what we had to do was we had to now go in and fight for trigger points because they would use temporary people, and it says, basically, none of this applies to a temporary person. They come and go. They use temporary people and use them full-time, year after year. Same with part-time. So we had to negotiate trigger points. I mean, this industry is the only industry in the world where they'll put up an employment notice that says career opportunity, and it's for a temporary worker. But one final point about internship, we do have clauses, and most of the people do, where we can say, yes, bring the interns in. We need the technical ability, the knowledge, the energy, the passion, which sometimes, male, pale, and stale here. I start to lose it after a while, because you do it every day, right? So we need that energy, but we also need to protect our members and people who legitimately are working. So we don't want to push people out. And so we've negotiated a partnership. And when it works really well. Come on in. I'm an editor. Sit in my edit bay. Here's how we do it. Tomorrow you're doing it and I'm sitting beside you. And it's really a team dance. That's one final thing. There's a lot of push now. I don't know, you may know more from the school, but the old one-man band, you know? You can go out and you can shoot, you can edit, you can report, you can produce, you can raise the financing and do the distribution, and one person can do it all. And it's kind of a fallacy. This is a creative industry that depends upon teamwork. And sure, if you're doing that, you can do all that. One person can do all that, but they can only do it one at a time, right? The guy on the street corner with the cymbal between his knees and the drum on his back can still play Beethoven's Ninth, but it ain't going to sound the same as if the BSO is doing it. And where the creative industry, especially in media, really works is when there's a team, a bunch of people, different sets of eyes. And a team of people, and our members, whether they're our members or people, the workers that Enda is talking about, are committed and passionate about the work that they do. It's artful. It's not necessarily art. I would call it definitely a craft. And I think most people who've been there, well, I may get disagreement, but you know, that's how most people who do the work view it. It's a craft. I forget where I was going with that, but I'll stop ranting now. Anyways, I just wanted to talk about the fact that we do negotiate, we do work, we want the partnership, we need the teamwork. That's so important to the industry.
I just wanted to make one comment on my experience with that declining resources in the media. Because when I was a leader in the BCTF, I was interviewed by the media many times over the course of 8 years, but particularly the 3 years when I was president. And it used to be that a reporter and a cameraman would come. And even over the course of that 8 years, it changed from that to a cameraman coming with a set of questions, or a cameraman who came and said, "What's this all about?" And it's actually a dramatic difference, because in the BCTF you have lots of difficult issues. People can ask you tough questions about those issues. But towards the end of my time, I knew that if a cameraman was coming, I could say whatever I wanted. I could get our message out. I could say class size and composition as much as I wanted to, you know, and nobody would challenge that, because, I mean, lots of the cameramen know some of the issues.
There's camera women too.
And camera women,
yeah.
Sorry,
yeah.
camera persons.
Shooters.
Camera operators.
We just call them shooters.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kathy.
You're welcome.
But and so some of the shooters would know some of the issues, but they weren't like a journalist who had researched it and thought about what the tough questions might be.
Well, I think that's changed a lot, because there's a lot of people who are video journalists who go out and they, because the technology has changed so much. It used to be that I could not lift a camera. I couldn't. They were just too big and cumbersome. Now they're really portable. I can go out and shoot by myself, and it's cheap. Exactly. So that's changed. But I do think there's something to that. There's this whole idea that you can go out there and shoot things, but there's a whole discussion about what role the journalist plays. And to double back to democracy, I believe that we need journalists in order to have free and open democracies. I believe in public service journalism. And I believe that it's not just about going out and serving your own agenda, that you're actually serving the greater good, that there's a public service element to all of this. So when we send somebody out that just has the technology to capture information, and we're not providing them with the intellectual tools, the research, the documents, the detail, to be able to say, what are you talking about? What do you mean? And to double back with statistics, then we're not doing our jobs. So I think we're in this really weird swing right now where the technology is allowing us to do some things, but we need to kind of come back to a center point that says that it's great to have technology to allow us to do things, but if we don't back up whatever we're doing with content, we're sunk.
It also seemed like people were always under such a huge time pressure.
Yeah, and they are, and they always have been in journalism. And now you're feeding the goat 24 hours a day, not just 3 hours in the morning or 2 hours in the afternoon. It's a constant whirl. The trouble is, or I guess the challenge is, you've got the